Uncensored, no holds barred talk. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is Global Reality Radio Network.
Welcome to another live edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us tonight for another live edition of the broadcast. And we are going to be getting into some news, various news and information here for you tonight on the broadcast. Emails. Always love to have emails from you, and love reading those on the show and going over and stuff that you guys bring up. You guys are fantastic out there with the stuff that you bring up, and I'm just really happy to see how many of our listeners now that we have, not only the amount, but just the fact that how many of our listeners now get it. And, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and they're just taking the stuff and the information that I talk about and going and looking into it for themselves. And so they come back and they have questions, and, they ask me questions and stuff like that. And that's fantastic, man. That's just, that's really just how it should be, Everybody gets over their hang-ups and over their, hero worship and all this culture BS, and it just gets down to the fact that this is about information, and that's what we're supposed to focus on. And it's amazing what happens when that's the case. I don't know what the deal is today. Today was just kind of, I don't know. It's like all day I was getting fantastic emails from people and comments, and lots of comments on the YouTube channel today on videos. It was very well. I guess that's kind of my own fault. I put up two new videos today on the Global Reality YouTube channel. So that's probably why we got so many comments. But they were on some, a lot of them were comments on other films, other things other than the Secret Right Volume 2, which, by the way, we have the additional 49 minutes. Back up on YouTube. We had it up for a week or two. We had it up for a little while. Give little people a taste, but it's back up there now. It's back up there permanently. So now you can see approximately 1 hour and 48 minutes of the 2 hour and 40 minute or so full length film, which is available at my website where this broadcast originates from, by the way. theglobalreality.com. That's theglobalreality.com. And under the SR2 by SR2 tab there, you find all the DVDs. By the way, I'm going to be putting up, as per the request of the audience, I will be putting up a Secret Right Volume 1 and Volume 2 combo pack, and as well as the individual research pack DVD for your computer and the soundtrack disc. I'll be putting those up individually. People had some questions about what they got in their packages and stuff like that. The soundtrack disc was not included if you pre-ordered. You got the research pack, which included the DVD and the sticker, and that was it. That was the pre-order thing. You didn't have to pay extra for that. You just paid the $20 or whatever it was initially, 25 or whatever we put it up for initially. So yeah, there you go. I wanted to answer that question for folks. But anyway, yeah, we'll get that up there, and so you can buy those there. And if you haven't bought one yet, please do so. and help support what we're doing here as well. We got about 4 hours left on our Chip and Bear. We have the bills paid for the month, but after we get the bills paid and stuff, we're down to like zero. So please help us out. We got about 4 hours left on that one, and we're trying to start out 2012 with a little bit of cash in our war chest, so we can concentrate. So I can concentrate more appropriately on the business at hand of the information and the research, and not have to worry about the bills and all this stuff, and I could just focus on this because it's a very important time right now. A lot of stuff we're going to talk about tonight will entail that, and also with the research. And I'm just ecstatic about how many people are really. I mean, people are getting really interested in this rock wall film thing, man. I mean, I got people all over the place. Some of the stuff that I broke down last night on the show, I made kind of a post and put it out there, and a lot of people saw it. And a lot of people are really interested in it now, and that's awesome. And I just, I've been so lucky and just things have just happened synchronistically for me since I've been doing this, because when you're doing something for the right reasons, that's what happens. And I mean, because you got to understand, before I did, I mean, folks, it's not like me to dedicate myself this much to anything in my life. I never dedicated myself to anything as much as I have this ever before. But as soon as I started doing that, everything started to change, and it continues, all the time. You go up a notch, and it's crazy. But I just have this feeling, man, that there's going to be a lot of I don't know. I think things are going to go. I think things are just going to appear to us. I think we're going to get lucky on this Rockwall film. I don't know. I just have this gut feeling that somebody's going to come forward, or somebody's going to give us an opportunity to do something could pertain to this. It's going to help out the research. I don't know. I just have this gut feeling, because I mean, there's just been so much of a reaction to it. And lots of people sending me messages wanting to, help, and what can I do to help? What can I do to go? And the biggest thing, so we've got lots of hands. We just need a budget for this. That's the biggest thing, as it always is. And I don't like to get up here and have to talk about that stuff. I want to focus on the information, but we have we have about 1,500 or so left there on that chip and banner. That's what we were wanting for the budget for this stage of the film. It's kind of done. It's kind of going to be done like they shoot actual real movies, which is they always shoot the ending last, and that's kind of how this one's going to go. We're going to go look at some other structures in Texas and Oklahoma that seem to be very similar to the rock wall, buried structures and stuff like that. And that's going to be the end of the film. So the bulk of the film at the beginning will be more of the rock wall stuff, and that's where the end will show other examples of this and kind of ask the questions of what, why these things are not being excavated, why they're being buried, why there's so much secrecy surrounding all these things. And when people start to ask questions, people start to get real shady and stuff like that. But I just got this gut feeling, man, that something's, somebody's going to hear about this, and somebody's going to say, you know what, this needs to be, helped. So that's what I'm working towards here. So thanks to everybody who has supported our work out there. We could not do it without you, and it's getting bigger and more exciting and more important. And it's a team effort here. It's me, and it's my show, and it's my work, but it's you guys with me. I couldn't do it without any of you guys, you listeners, and all you supporters out there, and people who've been listening to the show for years now. It's just, I mean, you really can't ask for much more than that, I'm just not gonna. I don't know. I will continue to do this. So long as we just continue to have the support of our listeners as we have, because it's just been amazing the work that we've been able to do with everybody's help out there. I'm just really honored and humbled to be here, and want to continue to do this. And the response so far to telling people, just the response that people have gotten that I put out for this new film, it just blows me away. How many people are interested in it, man? I mean, we have a real chance here to be able to get this information out in a big way. And I just want to kill it, man. And I think I can. I mean, dude, I don't even, the thing about it, I really already done all the research, I mean, I've been researching this for 5 or 6 years, so I'm really ahead of the curve as far as the research goes. I just have to go out and do the field work. That's really the big, because it's all going to be field work. The whole film will be field work. Well, let's say the whole film. There'll be a little bit of stuff in there, pictures and whatnot, but that's just stuff because there's a lot of pictures and maps and things for the rock wall and the golden ratio stuff. God, in that documentary, the Revelation of the Pyramid, there's a piece of footage in that documentary film that to me is I mean, it's just absolutely one of the most solid gold. I mean, it's pure liquid gold, man. Video clips ever caught on tape by anybody in the history of electronic media. And it's an interview with I.M. Pei. You guys know who I.M. Pei is? He's an architect. He designed the pyramid thing in the Louvre in France. And he's actually did one in Dallas as well. He did a bunch of buildings in Dallas. He's totally Illuminati, totally high level Illuminati. And he's done a lot of occultic buildings and different stuff. Look into that guy, I.M. Pei. Oh man. But they asked him about the Egyptians using the golden ratio, the golden number in the pyramids, and so they asked him about using it, and he said at first he says he doesn't know what they're talking about, and says no, I don't know what you're talking about, blah blah, and he totally denies it, and then he comes back later and says, and then he starts admitting it. Well, actually, yeah, I have enjoyed using that golden proportion, the golden ratio, and that's the secret, blah blah blah. And then abruptly he says, his secretary comes in and he goes, oh, I gotta go. And he rushes out of the room in a hurry. Because first he denied it, and then he was like, okay, well, this guy knows what he's talking about, so I'll let a little slip. And he totally lets it out. And, the gold that's been found exists within the rock wall. So, I mean, it's absolutely fascinating stuff, and it just, we just need a budget, man. I wish we could get somebody who had, big bucks out there. If anybody out there does have, vast amounts of money that they can, hemorrhage. Well, not vast. Big documentaries cost, 2-3 million. Jones will spend 500,000, $1 million on one. 10,000 is huge for us. 20,000 is, that's 20,000 is gigantic budget. About a $20,000 budget, Jesus Christ. Make it'd be like Scorsese what I could do with that shit. I'm not even kidding you, dude. I mean, everything I do is low budget, and I fucking make it work, and it looks great. I can't imagine what I'd do with it, if I ever had that. It'd be over. Because it's just ridiculous what you can do nowadays with the technology for not a lot of money if you know how to use it and manipulate it. You can have all the best equipment in the world. I was, the only reason I was able to do the Secret Ride Volume 2 and get it done as fast as, I got that Mac in October, and I had that puppy knocked out, bam, by November 22nd. That's pretty damn good. That's pretty fast. Because I only had like about an hour canned before that, and even a lot of that hour, I went back and rechopped. So. And cut the intro in, and I basically recut the whole thing. And I had never used Final Cut Pro before, but I jumped on it like it was nobody's business because I'd been using this. I gotten so good at using this inferior PC software. Not even inferior. It's just all of it's inferior. I got all the top notch Avid stuff for PC, and none of it was anything like you could do on the Mac. So, I just jumped right on it and was able to, get super duper results in a quick amount of time. And that's what's, that's what's awesome about this next film is it's not, this is going to be able to be done real cheap, really just, travel. I mean, we'll probably, I don't know, this one will probably cost between 5 and 10, something like that. But anyway, yeah, I'm just glad that people, are interested in this. And we, if we could luck out and find somebody that had some property, or that's what I'm thinking might happen. We might be able to find somebody that is interested in this and says, hey, I have some property and I have some of this wall on my property. There's tons of people out there. The original dig back in 99 was done that way. I know exactly where that site, that house is at. Apparently those people don't like to be bothered about it anymore. I can understand that, but I'm thinking about going over there and knocking on their door and asking if I can, go out there and video it for this movie I'm making. I'll go back there. It's way back in the back of their property. You can see it from Google Earth. I'll have to pull some screenshots of that and post those for y'all in the chat room sometime. But I've got screenshots of it. I've marked it on Google Earth before. You can see the exposed top of the wall from the original 1999 dig on this property. But, if something like that happened where we could get a small dig together, because one of the guys who has been researching this for a long time, Dave Campbell, according to him and John Lindsay both, who did the original dig, a dig could be done but for between about $30,000 and $50,000, which is really not a lot of money. The main thing that you'd have to do is you'd have to just find your archaeologists and find those type of people, but you just got to have a lot of water pumps and a lot of place to displace this water and store this water, because when you start getting down there, you get down to the groundwater and it just floods everything out. And it can degrade the areas of the wall. So, it's kind of one of those things where you have to have people who know what the hell they're doing. You can't just go down there willy-nilly, dig 50 foot down and, oh, look, there's the wall. It's a little more complicated than that. But people always ask me, well, where can I see it? Where can I see it? I want to see this thing. Well, you can't. Like I said, you got to dig way down to see any of it. What's interesting is that they've taken some of these stones from the wall itself and fuse them together with concrete, and it's in front of the old Rockwall Courthouse. I'll have footage of this in the film. And people actually, I've read stuff online where people actually believe that that's how the wall was put together, and it wasn't. When the stones that they used they cracked those off the mortar, but the mortar that was between those bricks on the wall was a geopolymer. It was a polymer made out of crystals. That was 3 different types of crystals brought from different locations and put together to make this polymer that they fuse the rocks together with. And when you go in front of that representation they have of it in front of the old Rockwall Courthouse, the new Rockwall Courthouse looks like the fucking Temple of Solomon. It's the goddamn craziest thing I've ever seen. It's insane they built that thing. It's huge. It looks like a Capitol building. And it's right on top of one of they put all these big buildings right around the strategic locations of where different things are located on the wall. It's fascinating. Yeah, they make it appear that these rocks were just, thrown together willy-nilly, but they put concrete between them to make the representation of it, which doesn't represent actually what the wall was. Guess they weren't going to go through the trouble of trying to recreate a geopolymer. That'd be too hard when you just have concrete. But no, I went over there and looked at it and stuff before, and it's interesting to me because there's big giant shards of like old looking quartz crystal like I've never seen. The color and variety of like I've never seen sticking out of the sides of these bricks, And supposedly inside of that building as well, there's a little window part of the wall inside there. I've never seen that. I just found out about that. I hope to get footage of that as well. But from what I understand, the locals are real hush-hush about this stuff still. Everybody's real secretive about everything. People who know anything about it won't talk. So one of the things that we need for the budget, and like I said, it was about $1,500 for our initial budget for just this phase of the film. If anybody wants to help us out with that. And I'm going to go and shoot some of the various things around there, around the area, and kind of show the locations. But I'm also going to put an ad out, like in the Rockwall paper and like Craigslist, saying, hey, anybody got any I'm making a film about this, and sometimes when people think they're going to be on TV or be in a movie or be in a film or something, it's like, I don't know, man. Just my experience has been people will tend to open up to you like you're fucking Barbara Walters in that situation, because sometimes, look, keeping this kind of stuff like that, sometimes there are people who can do it and they go through life and it doesn't bother them and that's it. They take it to the grave. But there are other people out there who, they have this knowledge and they just, they want to tell somebody, but they can't just talk to their average person about it because they'll think they're crazy. So that's one of the things I'm going to, take a gamble on, see if there's somebody out there like that, take the chance that somebody that, might see this and go, you know what? I know this and I've never told anybody this. Yeah, but I want to get it out there. I have a feeling we're probably going to see some stuff like that. But anyway, glad you could join us here tonight. I'd like to get into a few emails here. This comes from Richard. Richard said, Dear Josh, I'm listening to your January 30th last night's show, Radio Archive. I have seen this giant green ball of light that you mentioned in the first 10 minutes of the show. Just before the new year in 2006, my friend Jim and I drove all the way from Santa Maria, California to New York and made it to Times Square. Just for the New Year's, we took I-40 or 140, mainly because it was wintertime and we wanted to avoid the I-80 to stay warm. We stayed in Manhattan for about a week. Then the second or third week of January 2007, we drove back from New York to California, but this time we took the I-20 freeway. Guess what? During a late night drive, this may have been further west of Rockwall. Yeah, it is, but it's not far. We saw a giant green ball of light fly straight down towards my car. It was huge, and then it disappeared. We were both tripping out. I've seen those same exact things before in the sky. I have not seen anything quite like that. It was estimated to be about 20 to 30 times the size of the moon, but glowing and flying downward. Yeah, I've seen that same exact thing. I don't know what that is either. Now that I'm looking at a map, it appears as if the I-20 freeway, it seems to go very close to Rockwall. Later in November 2008, I saw what appeared to be a confirmed gigantic UFO sighting of a partially transparent metallic orb. It was a football field in size. Yeah, I've seen pictures of those from images from Google Earth, where the satellites have zoomed in right at a moment where one's like sitting there and you just see this big silver orb all over the whole screen. And slowly disappeared out of nothing. And observing this for about 20 minutes, the anomalous aircraft that went into formation with two other metallic, some kind of electromagnetic flying object, and formed an upside-down triangle configuration like the Legend of Zelda Triforce, lit up bright white and either disappeared or left the area at a high rate of speed. This was near King City, California on November 15th, 2008. It is interesting that you mentioned the Jim Marrs book, Ruled by Secrecy, because I randomly found this book in 2009 and read the whole thing, and it was one of the best books I've ever read. I was fascinated by Marrs' detail and breadth of coverage of so many occult and financial topics and how they all interrelated. I try to avoid the UFO stuff, but the Texas green ball I observed and the anomalous aircraft I observed in November 2008 in California, both events being quite different, are incredibly real and unexplainable. Keep up the great work, Richard. Well, thank you so much, Richard. And you know what? I mean, Richard makes a great point there. Right there at the end of that, a great email, by the way, but right there at the end, he makes a great point where he says, I try to avoid the UFO stuff. Well, and I understand why. And the reason is because it's a honeypot, because they're getting us, we just don't have all the facts about it. So, they're getting, the argument has been they're either real or they're not. They're from outer space or they're not real. And I think that's been a false paradigm they've set up for us, because I'm starting to think more and more that even maybe some of this Sumerian tech stuff, oh man. See, it's one of those moments where I'm kind of expressing my own research out loud, and it's just, I gotta say, okay, are they ready for me to talk about this? Or, well, okay, I'll just say it. I don't know. I just, some of the research lately I've been looking at, I think that it's a possibility that UFOs, what we call UFOs and all this stuff, and even some of this Anunnaki stuff, this Tales of Nibiru and all this stuff. I think a lot of this stuff could have actually not been something on another planet or something of that nature, but very well could have been advanced beings from inside of our Earth who have been here all along, who actually came to the surface and then did these things that we hear about in the Sumerian text, you know, meaning that, you know, Nibiru, what they call Nibiru is actually, you know, I don't know. But I think that there's as much evidence that what we call UFOs come from inside the Earth as they do from outer space, because we don't know for sure. But what I think Richard makes a great point here is that regardless of what you personally believe or what you personally believe you have enough information to believe more appropriately, regardless of that, as Richard says here, Richard's not he's not a researcher that gets into the UFO thing, but he saw what he saw. You know what I mean? I mean, he and that's the whole thing that people have to understand is when you see something like that, regardless of what you believe is possible or not possible or real or whatever else, it's very important to share that with other people. And I thank Richard for sharing that with us, because I mean, you know somebody else out there saw what you saw. Like I mentioned, I posted 2 videos today. I posted the Secret Volume 2, 49 more minutes, but I also posted a chemtrail video, some chemtrails here in North Texas that I shot today. And I had seen this plane, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, I think I shot some footage of it. And I always see these planes. Some people think they're holographic, and they very well could be, or they're used in, for holographic things. But it's just like bright red, orangish looking plane, spray plane. But anyway, I posted some video of that, and you can see one spraying behind like an aerosol, small one going behind it. They just totally blanketed us out today. And, it's one of those things where sometimes people, I see people walking around all the time, they don't even notice it. But once you point it out to somebody once, the light bulb goes off, and they're like, why haven't I noticed this before? Everybody says that. I can't tell you how, I can't tell you how many people that have woken up to chemtrails I've seen. Dozens. 20, 30, 40, 50 people that I know that have been, have said that. I never noticed them, but as soon as somebody said something about it and I started looking up, that's all I could see all the time. And it's like, a lot of it's like that, A lot of this stuff, it's like you just need somebody to make you aware that it's there. Or you need, some event like Richard described here of seeing something like that to make you know that it's there. You know what I mean? It's like you weren't aware of that, or you weren't, really into looking into those type of things, and then boom, you see something, you're like, oh shit. And that's we need more people to understand that. Let's see what else we have here for emails. This is from Bjorn. He says, hello, Josh. A few days ago, I curled up in bed with a cup of coffee and listened to you reading from the Kabbalion via YouTube. That was the best radio show that has ever been on air. There is so much repetitive and mundane stuff on the radio, television out there, and your initiative to share different books containing timeless information is a blessing to us all. Thank you. Your own input into your readings, your comments and thoughts reveal a high state of consciousness. Your humor is healing and blends perfectly in with the themes that you are addressing. When I have the opportunity, I will certainly donate some funds to help you in your quest. I believe that you came into this life with a gift, and it has to do with a particular vision, the ability to see behind the manifestations. Yeah, I've always had that ability to be able to do that. I have this crazy discernment even when I was real young. With your vision, humor, and courage, you are already a gift to humankind. Question, have you ever read or studied the Gospel of Philip? Here is an excerpt. The rulers, the controllers, thought that it was by their own power and will that they were doing what they did, but the Holy Spirit in secret was accomplishing everything through them as it wished. Oh, yeah. Well, isn't that telling? Wow. accomplishing everything through them as it wished. Right. Yeah. Truth, which existed since the beginning, is sown everywhere, and many see it being sown, but few are they who see it being reaped. Does this resonate with you? Absolutely, it resonates. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, pretty amazing. Perhaps we can discuss this text at a later date. Who knows? Okay, sure. I'd love to do that with you. Can you send me an email if you answer my question so that I can know what show to listen to, time of date and day? I live in Norway, and I'm not entirely sure when I'll have the time to enjoy your next broadcast. Warm regards, Bjorn Ingolf. You are not alone. Well, thank you, Bjorn. That's fantastic from Norway there. And speaking of Norway, I'm going to be taping next week. I'm going to be taping the newest 2-hour installment of Red Ice Radio that I'm going to be on. And I think that'll probably be on a couple of weeks after I tape it. But, yep, going to be doing that next week, and that's going to be fantastic. But thank you, Bjorn. I appreciate all those way too kind words, my friend. I appreciate everything, and I'm very lucky to have you as a listener as well, my friend. Thank you so much. Yeah, the rule. Let me read that again for you. Okay, this is from the Gospel of Philip. Okay. The rulers thought that it was by their own power and will that they were doing what they did, but the Holy Spirit in secret was accomplishing everything through them as it wished. Truth, which existed since the beginning, is sown everywhere, and many see it being sown, but few are they who see it being reaped. Yeah, that's it's pretty. That would sum up. Yeah, that kind of sum up my worldview pretty much. Yeah. It's everywhere if you care to look, if you care to know. But the programming is so heavy with people that care to know is distracted away by media and culture and, daily life. So thank you, Bjorn. Great email there, my friend. And yeah, I mean, you're happy to send me another email or whatever you'd like to discuss about that text further. Sure. This is from Nick. Hi, Josh. My mates and I listen to your show and get a kick out of your work. We especially like the text that you are reading. Whilst listening to your shows in which you read the Kabbalion, not sure how it's spelled, I have begun to pick out the similarities to some of the books I've been reading. The Universal One by Walter Russell and Keeley's Secrets of the Universe. I have been reading these with more of a technical intent, trying to understand the potential for engineering some of this alternative understanding of reality to try to free things up with respect to the material level. Keep up the work, mate. You've got supporters here in Australia. Oh, well, thank you. Again, Australia, 2 nights in a row. Though I'm not much of a joiner like you, I do like to help people, especially those with pure intent. So if you ever need any help from down under, keep me in mind. Take care, buddy, Nick. Well, thank you, Nick. I appreciate that, my friend. And it's good to know that. Yeah, and that's another example. I got so many great emails like that. People all over the world, not just in my own country. I got people, everywhere with just saying, these very, very nice and warming things and being, just being downright real and cool. I love that. It just blows my mind. I continue to hear from people all over the place, and you just gotta do it, man, and it can happen. That's all I can say, really. Let's see. This is a great email. And this person does ask this, but you know what? And yeah, I mean, I have gone over this topic many times on my show. So it's not one that I feel the need to beat into the ground, but you know what? I hadn't brought it up in a while. And since you bring it up, I'll I'll answer this for you. He says, just from Jesse, and he says, Josh, I've been an avid consumer of alternative media and so-called truther and patriot websites. I have often come across a repeated reference to returning our country to some sort of state of being of hundreds of years ago where the Constitution and Bill of Rights reigned supreme. People such as Alex Jones and other media personalities talk of a spirit of 1776, something Thomas Jefferson himself referenced when he referred to his opposition to John Adams and the Federalists, as a way to rectify the morass that currently consumes our country and its government. Considering that you are quite critical of the above-mentioned media sources, I was wondering if I could get your take on the Constitution and the Bill of Rights themselves. Michael Lassarian does a great presentation, the Constitution Con, I think it is. That's definitely one to check out. As a student of history and a teacher of history within the public school system, more and more of my research has led me to the opinion that perhaps one of the greatest hindrances to true freedom and liberty is the nostalgic notion that we can somehow take a document written by the crooks and liars of their day and use it to achieve our own freedom. Well, absolutely. It wasn't. There was classism and all that stuff even then. I mean, people think that this was some far fucking expanse in ancient history that things were so radically, the world was not the same way. Well, yeah, it is different. But in a lot of ways it's the same. You still had classes of people then. And from my research, Jesse, I do think that the Constitution and Bill of Rights were set up to protect the interests of the white aristocratic landowners and the people who were protecting the interests of both the crown and the priest class, the Catholic, the Jesuit order at that time as well. Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly what this is about now. Is, perpetrating this idea that, if taking it back to what the founding fathers intended is somehow going to be good for the people. When you really do the research, it doesn't appear that way. It appears that it's going to ultimately ensure that the people who have now, this was written before the rise of the industrial age, folks. I don't know how we can still, it makes the playing field very uneven as it is right now. And when you look at it, really, for all intents and purposes, seems that that's exactly what its purpose was. Because what it did was, by ensuring those top people's interests were protected, once you had the rise of the industrial age and capitalism, and the biggest fish wins, and you had the rise of the big families and all this big money in the industrial age, that pretty much at that point ensured that the people with the wealth were going to have all the rights, and the people who didn't have wealth weren't going to have any. And is that very far off from where we are today? I don't say so. So absolutely, I don't believe for a second that it was set up for us, and that's why I don't believe that the voting system is anything to participate in it at all. Validating to them that we accept this system when we do not. Although modern historians believe Charles Beard's thesis that the Constitution was written in order to reflect and benefit the interests of the financial elite of the day has largely been discredited. How's that been discredited? And in what circles? Absolutely, that was the case. I mean, the people at the time who were doing the setting all of this up were working at the highest levels to ensure that they could spread their ultimate world order plan across the globe. That's why the United States was set up, to continue the supremacy. And they set up this illusion of freedom. And it was one of the most genius, if not the most genius thing that's ever been perpetrated on any country and any people of the world. Because they got us to believe that we have freedoms that we actually do not. I mean, that's what cult of personalities do. They have people in Russia believing that they had chosen Stalin, that the people had willed it. Most human beings are motivated by self-interest, and it seems to go against logic that the founders of this country would be one of those few small groups in the history of mankind who did not pursue selfish interests and ends when governing other human beings. Well, when you look at the artwork and stuff in Washington, D.C., and you look at what they were portraying in these things like, the apotheosis of George Washington, the Capitol Rotunda, they seem to indicate that this work was of a high order. And that's where the connections with the establishment of the Adam Weishaupt version of the Illuminati coinciding with, 1776 and the United States and the rest of that. That's really what it's about. It's spreading this supremacy in these different lands. But of course, when you read these Sumerian texts, it seems that, they set up these different regions all over the globe. I apologize if the topic has been covered on your show ad nauseum and you've made your position on the issue abundantly clear. It just seems to me that people in America need to evolve beyond the Constitution, and it serves as a tool of enslavement rather than being a tool of liberty. Well, absolutely, Jesse, then we're absolutely on the same page about that issue then. Sorry if I got sidetracked there. No, yeah, absolutely. You're totally 100% correct. I agree 100% with that. It has served as a tool of enslavement rather than a tool of liberty. I think it was set up. These guys were slick that set up. I mean, that was a genius move. Because they had the foresight to know that the industrial age was going to come. I mean, my God, 16th century England, you had John Dee, channeling stuff for the Queen and coming back talking about we have to strip mine the earth for resources to find silicon so we can break free of the etheric energy barrier that keeps us wrapped around and keeps us trapped on Earth. Imagine that. I mean, this guy's just getting downloads into his brain as poor Scribe over there is trying to keep up. But yeah, it does seem that the founding fathers had a foresight for the industrial age, and they knew that if they founded a country on these standards, that if you control the money and you control everything and you are in charge and you give yourself those kind of rights and also claim that everybody else has those rights, but yet, selective enforcement or enforce it when you feel like it, which is what they do, it's so much more effective than having an open dictatorship. Because when people feel like that they're, that's the thing, and a lot of people believe that comes from our, the fact that the Anunnaki used some of their genetic material in with ours because they were a ruling people. They weren't people they were ruling, they were gods, They weren't somebody's slave, so that's why early man rebelled so much when they tried to use them as a working race. That's why they were ordered to be wiped out, because we had too much of a tendency to be like them. They tried to, make us slaves, but we were instinctively breaking out of that. And that's what we have in us. So when we have a tyranny, an in-your-face tyranny on top of us, we have this natural rebelling spirit where we feel like we have to break free from it. But when it's invisible and when that illusion of freedom is there, and people are told that they have these rights, well, then you can selectively violate those rights to manipulate the people to whatever aims you want, because then you've got them locked into believing something is endowed to them automatically. And when you start to poke at them and prod at them, and make them believe that their God-given right to whatever is somehow challenged, it just enrages them. And that's what they're doing to us right now. We're like lab rats. Yeah. I agree 100% with you, Jesse. On a separate note, I've been listening to your show for several weeks now and love it. Keep bringing the real shit, but I've got to ask, why no hip-hop in your musical selections? Well, how long you been listening? You only been listening for several weeks? Because I got a whole bunch of people in my chat room right now that would totally vouch for me on this. I play a lot of hip-hop on here. But I only play stuff that I like. I'm not just going to play some random hip-hop just because. Just to play hip hop. Oh, here's hip hop. Let's play it. No, I mean, I like some things. I'm very selective about it. But I mean, we play Lost Children of Babylon on here like every week. And they're just fucking fantastic. If you've never heard Lost Children of Babylon, you got to check them out. They put like a week's worth of show information that I do in like 4 minutes of the song. But I played Ghetto Boys on my show a couple weeks on my music show on Sunday nights a couple weeks ago. I've played Tupac, Don Kill, Illuminati. I've played that whole album a whole bunch of times before shows. So keep listening, Jesse. Keep listening, and you'll hear some hip hop in here, man. I definitely play some, and the chat room itself will definitely vouch for me on that. So thanks for sending me the message, bud. I appreciate the email. Let's see what else we got. Let's see. Yeah, that's me. Somebody, I'll just left a comment on a YouTube video of mine that said, "So you're Josh Reeves?" Yeah. I'm Josh Reeves. Yeah, that's why I post these videos on a YouTube channel under his under his moniker. Yeah, he just allows me to do that. Yes, I actually am the real Josh Reeves. There was a couple of funny. There was a couple of cool messages that got left. This one was on the Reality of Illusion Part 4, Julian Assange, White Brotherhood, and the Nazis. Somebody left a comment that said, "This is more Mae Brussel than Alex Jones. I think I need to rethink my like of Alex Jones. He never gives any real detailed information, just NWO platitudes. This is very well researched and detailed, just like the great Mae Brussel." And then somebody else left a comment that said, "I used to think Reeves was crazy and jealous of AJ. Boy, was I being a twat." Oh, that's too funny. I used to think Reeves was crazy and jealous of AJ. Boy, was I being a twat. Well, you know what? You're not a twat. And I will be the first to say you're not a twat. You may have been being a twat at that time, but you're not a twat now. But thank you for admitting. You know what? See, I wish there was more people like you, my friend. Whoever you are, I don't even know if you'll hear this broadcast, but whoever you are that made that comment, you know what, dude? You're a bigger man than most people out there. Because I don't, you used to think I was crazy and I was jealous of AJ or whatever, but now you're saying that you were wrong about that. Hey, you know what? That's just fine, dude. I appreciate that. And all is forgiven, Don't even worry about it. It never happened. I wish more people were like you. I wish more people had the balls to be able to say, you know what, I was wrong. You know what? And so, yeah, I like when that happens. Appreciate that. And, there's nothing wrong with, I've made a lot of bad judgments of character on people myself, and, thought somebody was one way and then find out later they're a totally different way. And you admit that, okay, hey, I made an error in judgment there and I was wrong about that. And then you move on. So thanks for that comment. I appreciate that. And that's really cool. Alrighty. We are going to take a break, come back and get into a bunch of crazy important news for you here tonight. And I've got some big stuff. I want to talk about coming right back here in just a minute. I'm not one of those. I'm not one of those people that will get up here and, tell you, well, I started saying at the first of the year, the end of last year, that, look for something big around the first of the year, 2012. And, I'm not one of those people like Alex Jones that, yells false flag over and over again. But I got to say, the stuff that I got here tonight, it does indicate that that very well could be a possibility. All right, back here with you on the Global Reality, right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. And we had some weird technical stuff going on there in the break. Sorry about that. Again, it's just being weird. Over the past week, I don't know what's going on. It's like we're messing with us at showtime or something here. But nonetheless, lots of information to get into in this part of the broadcast. TheGlobalReality.com is our website. We have a shipping banner there that's about to expire. And if you can support us there on that shipping banner before that expires in the next 4 hours or so, please do so. So that we can continue on with our work and operate here and get our work done. And we're trying to get some funds up for the initial shooting of the next film, The Rock Wall and stuff. So if you want to help out with that, you can use that, or the donate button works as well. And we also have a P.O. box if you absolutely can't use PayPal. But we prefer the secure method with PayPal there. And we'll also have a subscription thing if you want to make a subscription where it comes out of your bank account every month. And it's, you don't have to come back and hit the donate button every month. There's lots of amounts there from small to large. And we had never had anybody come on with with one of the large ones yet, but if we ever did, that'd be pretty fantastic. But anyway, nonetheless, that's where it's at, theglobalreality.com. Pretty interesting. The Brookings Institute has published some stuff about the Iran situation, and as these guys always do, they have allowed a big part of their plan to slip here. I mean, they're openly talking about in these Brookings Institute documents, cooking up a provocation by Iran as a way for Israel and the United States to attack Iran openly here in these Brookings Institute documents. It's insane. They're talking about, it says a critical challenge for this policy option is that absent a clear Iranian act of aggression, American airstrikes against Iran would be unpopular in the region and throughout the world. This negative reaction could undermine any and all of America's policy initiatives in the region, regardless of how the Iranians respond. The vast majority of countries whose partnership is necessary to advance these other policies, including those that dislike or even fear Iran, do not want to see American military operations against Iran out of dislike. I'm sorry, let me go back. Out of dislike for unilateral American military operations and of fear of repercussions in the region. Thus, Washington cannot allow airstrikes against Iran to become a self-defeating course of action that undermines the other U.S. policies that option is ultimately meant to enable. So they need a provocation. Especially in the absence of a clear Iranian provocation, averting this paradoxical danger would be a major task for U.S. diplomats in the run-up to such an air campaign. They would have to make the case that Iran's continued refusal to accede to the will of the international community to halt its nuclear enrichment activities threatened the security of the Middle East and jeopardized the global non-proliferation regime. They would have to persuade these governments that the United States had reasonably tried all of the alternative approaches and none had succeeded. They would have to argue that the American actions were ultimately designed to enhance the stability of the region, and it would be a mistake for everyone if countries allowed their peak at Washington to impede other initiatives that are ultimately in the best interest of the entire region and the world. Now, here's where they lay it out. The truth is that all these would be challenging cases to make. For that reason, it would be far more preferable if the United States could cite an Iranian provocation as justification for the airstrikes before launching them. Clearly, the more outrageous, the more deadly. And the more unprovoked the Iranian action, the better off the United States would be. Of course, it would be very difficult for the United States to goad Iran into such a provocation without the rest of the world recognizing this game, which would then undermine it. One method would have some possibility of success would be to ratchet up covert regime change efforts in the hope that Tehran would retaliate overtly or even semi-overtly, which could then be portrayed as an unprovoked act of Iranian aggression. This suggests that this option might benefit from being held in the abeyance until such time as the Iranians made an appropriately provocative move, as they do from time to time. In that case, it would be a less determined policy to employ airstrikes, and instead of more opportunistic hope that Iran would provide the United States with the kind of provocation that would justify airstrikes. So they're openly talking about, make it look like Gulf of Tonkin, all over again. So that's on page 84 of this Iran strategy booklet from the Brookings Institute. I dropped a link to that in the chat room for you guys. Page 84 of that is where that information I just read from is located. Page 84. Hopefully we'll get that up on the Global Reality website for you as well. Page 84 from that Brookings Institute thing. Iran perceiving threat from West, willing to attack on U.S. soil, says U.S. intelligence report. So conveniently coinciding with that, now they're ramping this up and saying, oh, yes, Iran wants to commit terrorist attacks. Do you see how they're setting this up? Folks, we're seeing I got to be honest with you here. This is, I'm not trying to, be like all the rest of these. I know everybody else out there in Truther and Radio Land right now is probably screaming false flag a million times. I don't know. I don't keep up with it, but I'm sure they are, because everybody looks at the same shit I do. So I'm sure everybody out there screaming out there right now. I got to tell you, I can't disagree with it. There is a very real possibility right now they may stage something real soon. It's just what it points at. And this is another indicator of that. Mossad chief holds secret U.S. meetings on Iran nuclear threat, Senate panel reveals from Haaretz. So we have the hold on. So we have them coming out and saying that, yes, Iran is going to carry out terror attacks on American soil very soon. And that is coinciding with the convenient meeting of Mossad Chief Tamir Pardo held secret talks with top U.S. officials in recent days. Cursory comments made during a public Senate hearing indicated on Tuesday the clandestine Washington visit was exposed during a hearing of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, which was participated by CIA Director David Petraeus, Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, and Dianne Feinstein, who shares the Senate panel. During the meeting, Feinstein asked Clapper whether or not Israel intended to strike Iran's nuclear facilities, with the top U.S. intelligence official answering that he would rather discuss the issue behind closed doors. Feinstein then indicated that she had met Mossad Chief Pardo earlier in the week in Washington, with Petraeus adding that he too met Pardo and cited what he called Israel's growing concern over Iran's nuclear ambitions. They're cooking something up. Yeah. That's what it is, when it is. I don't know. I don't have any idea. I'm not going to speculate. I don't know. But you know what? They cook stuff up all the time, and they don't always go through with them. The great example of that is the Operation Northwoods documents. I mean, that was, there you had the same 9/11 plan of flying hijacked airliners into buildings to blame it on Cuba. And, they had it on the drawing board. They had it on the table. And they, much of the same way they're here. And then for whatever reason, the stars weren't aligned correctly for them or something, I guess. So they didn't go through with it. And this could very well be the case, but it also could very well be that it is it does happen. I don't know. I don't know whether for sure it is going to happen or is nothing may happen at all. But the only reason I ever point these things out is just so that you're aware of them. And it's my job to provide information, so that's what I'm doing here. I'm not going to get up here and yell and scream about false flag all day, but when I see indicators that appear, pretty telling, it's my duty to share it with you. So there you go. mind-reading device could become a reality. Well, that's a joke in and of itself from the Telegraph here. That's just, I mean, they already exist. We read a story last night about a helmet for airplanes that reads your mind and controls the airplane. They already have it. We've seen for years patent documents of the mind-reading, brain-scanning stuff that they're installing at a lot of airports now. So they've had this for a long time. The only reason they're starting to put out a lot of articles about it is because now it's gotten cheap and it's gotten easy to produce. So now they're rolling it out to the mainstream. Antibiotic-resistant bacteria found in 37 states. And that's just, all that stuff is, all those, that antibiotic-resistant bacteria and all that stuff, that's all a creation of the medical industrial complex. Their drugs is what have caused these things to come to fruition. Here's another article that answers itself. Is genetically modified food dangerous? Yes. And the fact that you had to ask that question makes you an idiot. You lose. Thank you. Grapeseed extract kills head and neck cancer cells and leaves healthy cells unharmed from Medical Express. A study published this week in the journal Carcinogenesis shows that in both cell lines and mouse models, grapeseed extract kills head and neck squamous cell carcinoma cells and leaves healthy cells unharmed. So grapeseed extract. Remember that. DARPA-funded hackers' tiny $50 spy computer hides in offices and drops from drones. Well, you know what that calls for. That's one of those titles, isn't it? DARPA-funded hackers' tiny $50 spy computer hides in offices and drops from drones. Nazi lesbian hookers abducted by UFOs and forced into weight loss programs. That's what that type of title is. Even more embarrassing than a student discovering your GPS tracking device on his car, as the FBI found out last year, is having to ask him to give the expensive piece of equipment back. So security researcher Brendan O'Connor is trying a different approach to spy hardware, building a sensor-equipped surveillance-capable computer that's so cheap it can be sacrificed after one use with off-the-shelf parts that anyone can buy and assemble for less than $50. Yeah, they got that. They've had that for years. Again, why are they just now telling us about stuff that a lot of us have known they've had for years and years and years and years? At the SHOMCOM security conference Friday in Washington, D.C., O'Connor plans to present the F-bomb. The fuck bomb? He straight up called this thing the fuck bomb. That's what F-bomb is. When somebody says you drop an F-bomb, that's what they're talking about. You said the word fuck. And this thing drops from tiny computers. So they're going to drop the fuck bomb on us. Why is it called the fuck bomb? Because it only costs $50 to make. It's cheap, it's expendable, and they can drop it from a drone and track on and wirelessly surveillance you with the ultimate high-tech technology. Falling or ballistically launched object that makes back doors. That's what it stands for. That's the worst acronym I've ever heard in my life. The F-bomb. Falling or ballistically launched object that makes back doors. Is it just me, or does that sound really, really homosexual? Think about this for a minute. A ballistically launched object. Well, what do we classify, ladies and gentlemen, as a ballistically launched object? Bullets, right? Missiles. Ballistic missiles, when they there's a crime scene and there's been a shooting, who do they call? Ballistics. Ballistics comes in and does tests. They're the ones that test bullets and shooting and rifles and all this stuff. So a ballistically launched object, just as the late, great George Carlin used to always say, who are these guys that are launching these wars? They got to be fags at all of them, because the bombs and the bullets and the rockets are all shaped like dicks. What? They have bigger dicks? Bomb them! George Carlin was the shit. But seriously. So the ballistically launched object that's shaped like a penis that makes back doors. Backdoor meaning, like the coded language of the blues, Robert Johnson, Led Zeppelin. Shake for me, girl. I want to be your backdoor man. Jim Morrison, backdoor man. That's what they're talking about. Being the bad, I want to be your backdoor man means I want to put it in your ass. So they called this thing, my God. So this thing is called the F-bomb, the falling or ballistically launched object that makes backdoors. So the feds and DARPA now are going to fly with a tiny computer that costs $50, drop it from a drone, and they're going to ballistically launch it and make a backdoor. Coming soon to a neighborhood near you. These guys, every single one of them, these guys just can't get over the cock and the back door, can they, at all times? DARPA's sitting around cooking up some new spy gear, and they just can't help themselves. Gotta have something about cock and asshole in there at all times. And look, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna drop a picture of this in the chat room of this F-bomb device, right? Here's what it looks like. And I want you to answer a question for me. Does that right there look like, in any way, shape, or form, anything that you would associate with a cock or an asshole? Seriously. I don't see anything cockish or asshole-ish about that little box at all. Why would you need a cock and an ass acronym for that? I mean, you're really reaching into the realms of thinking about cock and ass 24/7 when you name that something to do with cock and ass. I mean, this guy's just cock and ass. Yeah, surveillance, DARPA, white lab coats, surveillance. New technology, space, technology, ass, dick, ass. I mean, my God. Get your head out of these DARPA. I mean, these boys are walking around DARPA in their white lab coats. Oh, what shall we cook up today, master? God damn. The world's run by Peter Puffers. I don't know what else to tell you. Nothing against you if you're gay. Got nothing against gay people. But these guys are obsessed with it. I mean, seriously, obsessed with it. I want to fucking go to all these guys, these elite guys' doors, and I don't want to, if I was going to go around bullhorning people like, the truthers do, I'd be going up to these guys and like, excuse me, you are a Peter Puffer. Man. Let's see what else we have here tonight. Did you guys hear about so apparently I guess they brought Fear Factor back with Joe Rogan, and they were supposed to have an episode last night. They were supposed to air, and they canceled at the last minute. And it involved a couple of pictures of some stuff here. One picture of yellow liquid and another picture of some white creamy liquid, and it looks like it looks like an Inky size pitcher, pouring it into the womb, and apparently it was donkey semen, and someone apparently drank it, but the executives thought that it was not appropriate for TV, so at the last minute they pulled the episode. It wasn't shown. That means some dude or some chick drank that Inky size pitcher of donkey piss and the Inky sized pitcher of donkey nut. And not only that, their ass didn't get on TV. Did all that shit to get on TV. Drank the donkey nut, did you? Just couldn't pass it up. And your ass still didn't get on TV. How bad does that motherfucker feel? Especially if it was a dude, Oh, man. God damn. Woo. That is rough. Look at that, man. I mean, that's an Inky size picture right there. Wow. That's what we've been reduced to, though. We're drinking, beer pitchers full of donkey sperm on TV to get on TV and get money. Wow. It is, the running man is here. The U.S. military has been after self-guided bullets for years. Now government researchers have finally made it happen. a bullet that can navigate itself a full mile before successfully nailing its target. The breakthrough comes courtesy of engineers of the government's Sandia National Laboratories. They successfully tested a prototype of the bullet at distances up to 2,000 meters, more than a mile. The photo above is an actual image taken during those tests. A light-emitting diode was attached to the bullet, showing the amazing pathway that the munition made on the night sky. So, self-guided bullets now. Just like in, what was that movie? The Fifth Element. Every textbook on the brain is wrong, and our brains are more similar to monkeys than we thought. I mean, just as we were just talking about, the Rh negative, Rh positive blood thing. Our brains are actually more like monkeys than we thought. Yeah. Sad to say, we're all fucking monkeys or lizards. You're either a monkey or a lizard. Most of the people at the top are lizards, and we're all the monkeys. But I'm proud to be an ape. Fuck them. You know what I mean? Those lizards are just too creepy. I don't want to be one of them. I'd rather be an ape. I'm cool with being an ape. Humans lose and robots win in new defense budget. A big loser in Pentagon's new budget, ordinary human beings. About 80,000 Army soldiers and 20,000 Marines are getting downsized. Half the Army's conventional combat presence in Europe is packing up and ending its post-Cold World. I mean, we're here, man. Fucking Skynet, baby. Replacing them according to the $613 billion budget previewed by the Pentagon on Thursday. Unconventional special operations forces, new bombers, new spy tools, new missiles for subs, and a veritable Cylon army of drones. That's your tax dollars at work, ladies and gentlemen. There it is. Everything's going automated. The Skynet Terminator system is now online. But you know how the movies go. Yeah, it may wipe all us out, but it wipes all them out too. So be it. As long as those fuckers go, I don't care. The stunning image of a UFO was captured on video last week. But is it an alien craft, or is there a simpler explanation? Anthony Pacino of American Fork, Utah, said he was drawn to the sight in the air because it was nothing like he'd ever seen before. His footage of the object was later shown on the Weather Channel. The video shows the blue craft resembling a spinning top floating in the sky and moving very slowly. Mr. Pacino said, I looked up in the sky and, it was just a different object. It was neon blue and red flashing lights. He watched the object floating in the sky for a few minutes, observing how it was just cruising slow in the sky. But as with any UFO sighting, there were skeptics who have their own ideas. Yeah, it was swamp gas and Chinese lanterns and whatever else. But I got to say, whatever it is, it's definitely not swamp gas or a Chinese lantern. I don't know. But I'll drop a picture of it there for you, as well as the link. Pretty interesting thing there, though. No telling with it. To me, it kind of looks like it's, holographic blue beam type stuff. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong about that. I don't know. I've just seen a lot of this stuff, and you get some discernment after you look at a lot of it. Some of the stuff is absolutely, it's something. It's a structure. It's some kind of craft. But then some of these things appear to be organic, like some of the stuff that's been caught by the space shuttle missions outside of Earth. These things that seem to be swimming in space, and like these protozoa sperm looking things, and and then you've got some things that appear to be holographic, or some kind of light source thing. Any of those things where you see it just looks like light, like that, oftentimes I think is probably being used by some sort of technology where they, transmit those images from satellites down to the barium salt that they spray with chemtrails. I mean, they use that technology for stealths. They can project it. They can project an image of the plane onto a cloud, and another plane flying behind it thinks the plane's right there, so it fires a missile at it, but it's actually firing a missile at a hologram. The real plane comes behind it, and boom, shoots it, kills it dead. That's technology they've had for a long, long time now. New audio tape sheds light on JFK assassination. Long-lost audio recordings of the aftermath of President John F. Kennedy's assassination have now been made public, captivating historians and stirring fascination about that fateful day. Almost 50 years after the November 22nd, 1963 assassination, a 2 hour and 22-minute reel was found among the personal effects of JFK senior military aide Major General Chester Clifton, who died in 1991. The reel contains more than 30 minutes of previously unheard footage of conversations on board Air Force One as Kennedy's body was being transported back to Washington from Dallas. It includes new code names and incidents, including a private conversation by the head of the Secret Service, Jerry Bean, about where to take the body and plans for where the First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy would be taken. There is also an urgent effort by an aide to Air Force Chief of Staff Curtis LeMay, a well-known Hawk and Kennedy critic, to reach Clifton in attempts to locate various congressmen from Texas. The material was acquired by the Robb Collection, a rare domestic dealer based in Philadelphia, who donated a digitized copy to the National Archives and made it public at gpo.gov/FDSYS. Experts say the tapes will stir debate among conspiracy theorists, especially about LeMay, a major Kennedy adversary whose name was conspicuously missing from an edited version of the original tape. So yeah, that's interesting. People have always wanted to know where Curtis LeMay was on the day Kennedy was shot, and there have been mixed messages about it. This tape provides exactly where he was. I've noticed just real recently, just this year, that there has been a real flood of alleged new Kennedy stuff, new writings. It's like the third story I've seen, I think, at least. So that's why I had to bring this up. You know what I mean? You see, that's kind of how it works in your research. And you see one thing, okay, you see it twice, well, okay. Then you see it 3 times, you're like, okay, something's going on here. And I had to bring this up. I mean, it seems all of a sudden there's this flood of what is perpetrating itself to be new Kennedy information and stuff like that. But really, there's not anything really telling in any of this information. And I think that this is some sort of a ploy to get people to think that the United States, or maybe it is, maybe they're even prepping people for, the possible rollout. I mean, there's so many, hundreds of thousands of documents, classified documents, still classified to this day, that they haven't allowed to come out yet pertaining to the Kennedy assassination. And with next year being the 50th anniversary of that, it wouldn't surprise me if they came out with some, stuff that kind of pinned the United States to the responsibility of the Kennedy assassination. Meanwhile, the John Birch Society types that we discussed that really perpetrated the act will go on, still unexposed. But I don't know. It does seem like there is sort of a rollout happening, and I had a question why. It makes me wonder why. So interesting stuff there. That's about all we got for the news tonight. We're going to leave right there with the news. We're going to take a break, come back, and when we get back from this break, we are going to get into the End of Days by Zachariah Sitchin and continue our series of reading here tonight. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. Support our work there with the Chipping banner or donate button if you can. We just had to pay the bills for the month, and thank you to everybody who helped us do that. And but once we do that, we're kind of low in funds, and we need your help to continue, folks. So I hope you'll make a donation to us and help us out if you can. Oh, yeah, back here with you on the Global Reality. Zeppelin there with Achilles' Last Stand. Thanks so much for being with us here tonight. We're going to be reading from Zachariah Sitchin's End of Days in this part of the broadcast, picking right up where we left off last night. So glad you could be with us here, and glad if you're listening to us on a YouTube show later or an archive or wherever else you are. Thanks to everybody out there, and we appreciate everybody being out there and being in the audience and continuing to listen, and everybody listening to YouTube and MP3s and everywhere. So I salute you, and thank you so much to everybody out there for being with us always. I missed an email earlier, and I want to bring this one up because it's one I'm going to have to go do some research on and come back and talk about later. But Charles had sent me this, and one of our listeners by the name of Charles, and Charles said that no need to read it on air, but I wanted to read it on air because I feel like I could kind of go over it better. So I'm going to read this for you now, and then I'll go over something. He sent me a lot of information to go through. So but it sounds like some fascinating stuff that ties in with a lot of my research. I want to read this for you. He says, Josh, I've recently come across some texts that changed my perspective on everything, and I really just need some guidance whether I'm going in the right direction or not. I'll attach the PDF files and say a short description of each because, quite frankly, the titles are a bit misleading and in the order that I came across them myself. First is the history of Joseph the Carpenter, a short history of a Roman Jewish priest from the house of David that was entrusted with a temple virgin until she could be given as a gift. And after raping her, the archangel Gabriel appeared to her, whom I might add she was already acquainted with so much that she greeted him like an old friend. And after hearing this, Joseph was going to take care of things until Gabriel appeared to him and told him not to because they were to be parents of the Savior. Second, the gospel of the infancy of the Savior, the gospel of the infancy of the Savior, a further and deeper account of the above tale, adding the account after the birth, like how Jesus would use Kabbalistic magic to trick people into thinking that he was special and killing kids that bullied him, including a teacher that hit him for questioning and correcting his teaching methods, ending with Jesus rebelling against his parents. Third, the gospel of the witches, a story about the lizard queen goddess Diana, who with her husband and brother Lucifer, I have to add that the wiki on the goddess Diana bring up the exact text I'm talking about, except changing the story, saying the goddess Diana was married to her half-brother Apollo, and using so many worshipers through the teachings of a certain Jesus of Nazareth that they had to bring into the world a Jesus of their own bringing the worship of the Holy Trinity back to that Isis, Osiris, Horus platform. Yeah, I would agree with that. Fourth, being the Urantia papers. Yes, that one's on my list of one to read, and I just keep forgetting about it, but I've been asked by several listeners to read the Urantia papers, so I will be reading that at some point. In fact, I'll read it next after this book that we're currently reading. The Urantia papers, which talk about the truth of the Holy Trinity being Son, the physical body, the spirit, the conscious, and the Father, the subconscious. Right. Well, that's what, yeah. Isis, Osiris, Horus, yeah. It's all, you've got, you got to understand that you have esoteric and exoteric explanations for these. It's as above, so below. Meaning in the material world, the material world has a counterpart in the spiritual world. All of us do, really. That's kind of what that means. Last of all, it's a book about Atlantis that has an ass ton of American ruins that might help your movie. Okay, so I'll definitely look into those things and try to talk more about those for you in future shows, Charles. And you said you had some questions, whether you're going in the right direction. You did, but you didn't really give me, a lot on what your questions are. So I'll go over that stuff, and you get together what questions you have and stuff for me. And I'll do my best to respond to those to you after looking at the information and see if I can help you. Seeing if you're on the right direction. You said, okay, yeah, I'll be more than happy to do that. Just shoot me another email back. All right. Zachariah Sitchin, End of Days. Let's pick up where we left off last night. The ceremonies consisted of two parts. The first involved a solitary boat ride by Marduk upon and across the river to a structure called Bit Akati, the house of Akiti. The other took place within the city itself. It is evident that the solitary part symbolized Marduk's celestial travel from the home planet's outer location in space to the inner solar system, a journey in a boat upon waters. In conformity with the concept that interplanetary space was a primeval watery deep to be traversed by celestial boats, spacecraft, a concept represented graphically in Egyptian art, where the celestial gods were depicted as coursing in the skies in celestial boat. Well, that's an interesting thing about the celestial boats. That's another thing. I've been looking at some of these depictions of tunnel systems that go underneath the pyramids in Giza and underneath the Sphinx and go all the way into inner Earth and come out in the middle of this huge, gigantic ocean inside of the inner Earth. And so a lot of people have believed those boats to be spaceships or be symbolic, but Some of my research has shown me that those boats actually may have actually been, because they found some that were actually full size that they built, the Egyptians built. And so it may not be that those were, those ships were spaceships, as Zachariah Sitchin thinks, but actually ships that went through these supposed tunnels and these tunneling systems that went into inner Earth. It was upon Marduk's successful return from the outer and lonely Bik Akadi that the public festivities began. Those public and joyous ceremonies started with the greeting of Marduk at the wharf by other gods and his accompaniment by the king and priests in a sacred procession, attended by ever larger growing crowds. The description of the procession and its route were so detailed that they guided the archaeologists who excavated ancient Babylon. From the text inscribed on clay tablets and from the unearthed topography of the city, it emerged that there were 7 stations at which the sacred procession made stops for prescribed rituals. The stations bore both Sumerian and Anunnaki within the solar system, from Pluto to Earth, the 7th planet, and in Babylon, the stations in Marduk's life story, his divine birth in the pure place, how his birthright and his entitlement to supremacy was denied, how he was sentenced to death, how he was buried alive in the Great Pyramid, how he was rescued and resurrected, how he was banished and went into exile, and how in the end even the great gods Anu and Enlil bowed to destiny and proclaimed him supreme. The original Sumerian epic of creation extended over 6 tablets, paralleled by the biblical 6 days of creation. In the Bible, God rested on the 7th day, using it to review his handiwork. The Babylonian revision of the epic culminated with the addition of a 7th tablet that was entirely devoted to the glorification of Marduk, by the granting to him of 50 names, an act that symbolized the assumption of him of the rank of 50, that was until then Enlil's, and to which Ninurta had been in line. Starting with his traditional name, Marduk, son of the pure place, the names alternating between Sumerian and Akkadian granted him epithets that range from the creator of all to the Lord who fashioned heaven and earth, and other titles relating to the celestial battle with Tiamat and the creation of the earth and the moon. That's the whole problem with religion, folks. Careful you're not worshiping some alien who tried to set himself up as a god just because he had to have more technology than you. Other titles relating to the celestial battle with Tiamat and the creation of the earth and the moon, foremost of all the gods, a lotter of tasks to the Agigi. Well, that's the that's the same as the Hindu gods. The Hindu gods had that same thing. There's a it's one of the buildings. I think it might be the Trammell Crow building downtown Dallas, in the Rockefeller Minions here. They've got a big Eastern art exhibit. And they have like the 50 names of Shiva, or the 50 names of one of the Hindu gods. Yeah, that's where that 50 name comes. That's interesting because what are the Hindu gods always? Well, they look like straight up aliens. They're blue skin, looking Avatar or something. So that's interesting that we see that correlation there. I don't see Mr. Sitchin pointing that out here. I would think that'd be important, Mr. Sitchin. I think you should point out that, these Hindu gods had 50 names as well. Other names included a lotter of tasks to the Agigi and to the Anunnaki and their commander, the god who maintains life, the god who revives the dead. Well, that's interesting. He had the power, because they had the power to revive the dead. Lord of all the lands, the god whose decisions and benevolence sustain mankind, the people he had fashioned. Bestower of cultivation, who causes rains to enrich the crops, allocates fields and heaps abundance for gods and people alike. Finally, he was granted the name Nibiru, he who shall hold the crossing of heaven to earth. Now, I find that interesting there, that Sitchin would put that in there, because if that's true, and what we already have read and talked about last night was true, then these individuals like Marduk taking on these names of these planets has both a celestial counterpart and an earthly counterpart. So they called Marduk Ra, he who shall hold the crossing of heaven and earth. He was Nibiru. So Marduk is Nibiru. Ra is Nibiru. And he who shall hold the crossing of heaven and earth is he who controls the Stargate. Now, isn't that interesting that movie, Stargate, that's exactly what it is. Ra is trying to control the Stargate. So we've been running around, or not we, I've never believed in that Nibiru bullshit, but people have been running around, worried about this planet, the destroyer, and meanwhile it's actually the guy who all, one God world religion came from. The monotheistic system of religion came from this guy. He's the one that controls the Stargate. So that means that if, the Nibiru is supposed to return soon, that doesn't mean that this planet's going to come near us and going to destroy Earth. It means that this guy who set himself up as, ruler once may very well open the Stargate and come through and set himself up as the all-divine supreme ruler yet again. And boy, that would be fitting, because that would fit right in line with the status quo of today. He'd probably be very happy with how the world's being ran. Well, that's interesting. That changes everything, doesn't it? Because that really does. It kind of changes the perspective of it. So does that mean that all these people that have been thinking that Nibiru is a planet and going to come back and destroy us have actually been misinterpreting that? And that's been perpetrated to get people to not look at the fact that, this extraterrestrial alien who set himself up as a god that all world religions to this day still follow? We're still in the age of Marduk, aren't we? But his ass is gone and he's going to come back or something. Well, that's interesting. Wow. That'd be perfect. That's probably what they'll do with Project Bluebeam. That'd be perfect for them. Because he can come back and set himself up as the monotheistic king and boom, there you go. One world religion, everything. Yeah, that'd probably be great. And the bloodlines would still be, oh, yeah, well, we're the bloodlines that go back to Marduk here, so we're still running the show. Oh, this is wonderful. So we're going to have to, somebody needs to get Kirk Douglas, not Kirk Douglas, is that his name? Kirk Douglas? Yeah, Kirk Douglas. And get him on the phone and tell him that we need just get Snake Plissken up here immediately. Tell him we're going to we need his skills to fight off Amun-Ra when he comes back to set himself up. The cockaboo which in the skies is brilliant, he who the watery deep ceaselessly courses, let crossing be his name. May he uphold the courses of the stars in heaven, or the stars in heaven. May he shepherd the heavenly gods as sheep. With the title 50, the great gods proclaimed him. He whose name is 50, the gods made supreme, the long text states in conclusion. When the night-long reading of the 7 tablets was completed, it probably was dawn by then. The priest who conducted the ritual service made the following prescribed pronouncements. Let the 50 names be kept in mind. Let the wise and knowing discuss them. Let the father recite them to his son. Let the ears of shepherds and herdsmen be opened. Let them rejoice in Marduk, the Enlil of the gods, whose order is firm, whose command is unalterable. The utterance of his mouth no god can change. When Marduk appeared in sight of the people, he was dressed in magnificent vestments that put to shame the simple wool garments of the olden gods of Sumer and Akkad. Though Marduk was an unseen god in Egypt, his veneration and acceptance there took hold rather quickly. A hymn to Ra-Amun that glorified the god by a variety of names in emulation of the Akkadian 50 names called him the Lord of the Gods, who behold him in the midst of the horizon, a celestial god who made the entire earth, as well as a god on earth who created mankind and made the beasts, who created the fruit tree, made herbage, and gave life to cattle. A god for whom the 6th day is celebrated. The snippets of similarities to the Mesopotamian and the biblical creation tales are clear. According to these expressions of faith on earth, in Egypt, Ra Marduk was an unseen god because his main abode was elsewhere. One long hymn actually referred to Babylon as the place where the gods are in jubilation for his victory. Scholars, though, assume the reference is not to the Mesopotamian Babylon, but to a town by that name in Egypt. Yeah, right. In the heavens he was unseen because he is far away in heaven. Because he went to the rear of the horizons to the height of heaven. Yeah. So this he's either jumping back and forth through the Stargate or he's jumping back and forth through the spaceship. That's why he's unseen. But he was notice how they said he was only unseen in Egypt. His abode was elsewhere. So he's probably traveling through multiple dimensions. And that's why he was supreme, because he got to rule the Stargate. I mean, it says right there, he is far away in heaven because he went to the rear of the horizons to the height of heaven. Egypt's reigning symbol, a winged disc, is usually flanked by serpents. It is commonly explained as a disc, sun disc, because Ra was the sun, but in fact, it was the ancient world's ubiquitous symbol of Nibiru, and Nibiru that has become a distant, unseen star. No, see right there, Sitchin just directly, right there, 2 seconds after he talked about Marduk being a person, contradicts himself and tries to mislead you right there, as if you're not smart enough to see what he had already written. It wasn't representing the Nibiru. It was representing Marduk, because that's exactly why you had the winged scarab beetles in Egypt. Same thing. There's on the Behistun inscription that represents what's his name? We were talking about the other night, the Behistun inscription in King Darius. Same thing there. King Darius is represented on the Behistun inscription by a winged disc. Because Ra Marduk was physically absent from Egypt, it was in Egypt that his star religion was expressed in its clearest form. There, Aten, the star of millions of years representing Ra Marduk in his celestial aspect, became the unseen because it was far away in heaven, because it had gone to the rear of the horizon. Oh, is that what this is? Oh, see? Wow. I never thought about it like that. So, oh man, that makes total sense. That's why they talk about in the Quran, it talks about Allah coming from Sirius, or being the ruler of Sirius. And that's the same thing it says here. It says that because Ra Marduk was physically absent from Egypt, it was in Egypt that his star religion was expressed in its clearest form. So he was jumping back and forth, just like in the movie Stargate, where they show they have like a representation of the stars, and they show where their robot rover that they send into it goes, and they have this long distance across the galaxy. So these guys would travel through the Stargate back and forth to these other realms on these other planets, and then they would set up their temples to point in those directions and to tell the people that was the heavens, not letting them on to this technology and this thing that they're using to do that. Oh my God, I can't believe I've never saw it that way. That's exactly what it says here. And that's why they did that. They led these people to believe that was part of their godliness and their magic, into to primitive people it was. But it wasn't godly, it was just technology. So they would jump back and forth between these two locations and, come back through the Stargate, come back to Earth where they were gods, and go back and forth and have another life somewhere else. And then when people would ask where they're from, they'd say, I'm from this location over here. I'm the Lord of Sirius. Going through the fiery furnace and all that. My goodness. The transition to Marduk's new age and new religion was not so smooth in the Enlilite lands. First, southern Mesopotamia and the western lands that were in the path of the poisonous wind had to recover from its impact. The calamity that befell Sumer, it will be recalled, was not the nuclear explosion per se, but the ensuing radioactive wind. The cities were emptied of their residents and livestock, but were physically undamaged. The waters were poisoned, but the flowing two great rivers soon corrected that. The soil absorbed the radioactive poison, and that took longer to recover, but that too improved with time, and so it was possible for people to slowly repopulate and re-inhabit the desert land. So we're going to stop right there for tonight. Wow, that's, I've seen all the pieces and all the evidence of all that and all my other research, but I never quite thought about it in that way. That's what the importance of these stargates is. That's how they were able to do this. And that's what I believe, that these names that coincided with planets actually coincided. It's almost as if each one of these stargates were tuned or created for each individual person. So Marduk would have his and Enki would have his, but each one of them was tuned to a certain planet or a certain star system or wherever else, and it was individual to the person using it. So if, so-and-so was going to go through one, they would go through one that would go to, say, Mars or Venus or, where another planet or another star system. And so they became the rulers over that. And that's why they pointed people in the direction of those stars, because those individual realms were where they basically inhabited. That's fascinating stuff, man. That makes total sense. See, when you get over this idea of religion, and when you start to understand that, that the lies began farther back than government, farther back than the current religious. I mean, this lie that's being perpetrated by the priest class today is a lie that was set up long before modern man was running it. Our whole culture, our whole society is absolutely based on the belief in gods of these people that created us. And, it's hard to argue in that situation that they aren't gods. Because what do you say? I don't know, man. It's fascinating stuff. But anyway, we're going to leave it right there tonight. So glad each and every one of you could be with us. Please support our work, folks. This is our fundraising week, and we have squeaked by with enough to pay the bills, but we don't have much left after that. So we definitely need support in here this week, and we've got to get on the roll with this next film, because this work is just too important. So, I keep my fingers crossed when somebody's going to get interested enough in this one day and want to help us out in a big way with a big donation. That'd be fantastic. But till then, I salute you, and I love each and every one of you. You guys have a great one. My name is Josh Reeves, signing off. We'll see you later.